Right. Okay. Let's get started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु
जय
नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
भक्तवृंद।
हरे कृष्णा
हरे
कृष्णा
कृष्णा कृष्ण
कृष्णा हरे
कृष्ण
हरे
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 राम
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 हरे हरे
हरे हरे कृष्ण।
मज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुपूर्वमिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यं येन भूतले स्वयं रामय्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं शाग्रजातं शाहगणललितां तां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् श्रीगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्तांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे just trying to fix my microphone. Just wait. So now, we are reading from this chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita called Dhyana Yoga, and till yesterday we had read until
32, 6.32.
6.32. So we are continuing to discuss here who is a perfect yogi, and Krishna is describing this sloka we read last week. आत्मोऽप्येयं सर्वत्रं समं पश्यत्यो अर्जुन सुखं वा यादि वा दुःखं स योगी परमा मता स योगी परमो mata. So who is the topmost yogi or perfect yogi who by comparison to his own self sees true equality in all beings in both either happiness or distress, O Arjun. So Krishna is saying here that informing us that who is the true yogi. Perfect yogi is one who compares, just like we have a habit of comparing things, right? Oh, I'm this, the other person is that, I'm this, that. But the real comparison we make is we see true equality on all beings. We see things at the level of soul, Atma. We don't see things at the level of body. Because the bodies are different, because they are born or grown or made up of different level of elements, right? Somebody may be black, white, dark, young, old, so many distinctions based on time, place, circumstance, but all that is temporary. It is real, but temporary. But the one who wants to compare really, real comparison is, or equality is, who want to see things at the level of spirit, Atma or soul. And it's not just that when you are happy you think like that, even in distress. So sometimes, we are happy, we don't I mean, we compare, but then we feel good. Okay, anyways, I also have, they also have, so happy, happy, no problem. All looks same. But especially when we are in distress and when we want to compare things or see things in context, that's the main test, right? Suppose I'm in distress, and then how should I see the world or things around me? Inequality. So when you look at this level of soul, that's the only formula. Okay, we'll continue now, 33 from today. So before you go that, if you go a little bit back and just review, uh, so far what we have been discussing, that how to control the mind. Um Krishna started from 25, explaining, sit down nicely, how you think like a yogi in dhyana yoga. And then he describes gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by the means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed in self alone, should think of nothing else. And if the mind wanders due to its flickering on and unsteady nature, one must withdraw and bring it back under the control of self. So basically, practice this bringing the mind back to the self, to the real message, that I am the spirit soul, I am not the body. And if you yogi who fix firmly, Krishna describes that who fix firmly on me gets transcendental happiness beyond the mode of passion, and then he gets qualitative identity with supreme, and he gets rid of all the past deeds or reactions. And if one can sustain this self-control yogi, if you practice regularly, then you get rid of all material contamination and achieve perfect happiness in transcendental loving service. So then question comes, how does a yogi sees, observe things? So he observes things that Krishna says that he sees me everywhere and also sees everything in me. That's same Supreme Lord everywhere. So one who sees like that is never lost. Krishna says, I am never lost, and nor he is ever lost to me. And such a yogi, what he does, worship in worshipful service Supreme Soul, knowing that I, the Super Soul, are one, always remain me in all circumstance. And now he says he's a perfect yogi, one who sees everything on a spiritual platform and related with me, that is Krishna. Not just in happiness, but distress also. Now starts, this is the switching. Now we are switching. Arjun is going to ask some questions because so far Krishna described the dhyana yoga process, sitting posture, meditation, object of meditation, process of meditation, goal of meditation, and now Arjun is supposed to do meditation, right? Now he has been told all the information. Now what he's gonna do? Let's read from here. Okay. Who wants to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna. You can read, Mataji.
Arjuna Uvacha Yoyam Yogastva Purta Samyena Madhusudana Itasyami Yaham न पश्यामि चंचल अद्वत स्थितिं स्थिराम. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appear impractical and incurable to me. For the mind is restless and unsteady. Purport. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjun beginning with the word Saku, Sakau Desi and ending with Paramaha is here being rejected by Arjuna out of feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to schedule a secluded place in the mountain and jungle to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bit struggle of the life for the life for a short duration. People are not serious about self-realization even by simple practical means. And what to speak about the difficult yoga system which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of a place, and detachment of the mind from material engagement. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in the terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, he had a great longevity, and above all, he was most intimated friend of Lord Krishna. The Supreme Personality of the Godhead, 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now. Yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible at this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for people in general, it is impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what for the present day? Those who are intimating this yoga system in the different so called school and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal.
Thank
Shall I
you.
read further? Hare
No,
Krishna.
thank you. Very important thing here. Uh, So now, after hearing all this, Arjun is rejecting Dhyana Yoga. He's saying, Krishna is impractical, isn't it? Is it impractical? I mean, this Dhyana Yoga is really, really hard if you see, right? That's what Prabhupada is saying. So, to become a Dhyana Yogi or the meditation, what four things you need? What are the four things described in the purport if you read? Um, Mode of living. So you have to live alone. Who wants to live alone? Okay, you can live alone. Suppose if you are unmarried or you're not, you're living in a forest or cave. And then manner of sitting. How you have to sit? You have to always sit straight, right? And then look at the tip of the hair. And then you have to find a place where nobody disturbs you, right? So which means you have to leave this society of humans. And then even if you do that, you have to become detached from the mind, detachment of mind from material engagement, right? Four things: mode of living, selection of place, right? Manner of sitting, and detachment of mind from the world. I mean, one can do three things, but the fourth is detaching the mind. You may even go to the forest or cave, but your mind is still thinking about what you did in your last year, or how your life was, contemplating, where I've been there. This mind is very difficult thing. Now Arjuna said this, 5,000 years ago, he rejected. Arjun was in better place than us, right? Because Arjun was a warrior. He was a king. He could have just given up. Anyways, ready to give up the kingdom, right? He was ready to give up the kingdom, and he was more healthier than us. He was more richer than us. He don't have to do 9 to 5 job or maintain family. He was rich. He has a mystic power. He can control atomic weapons like Brahmastras by just mantras, and he has gone to even spiritual world. He has gone personally with Krishna. He has gone to meet Indra in the Swargaloka. He was very powerful person. Now, why did he reject? And in fact, he never practiced this yoga in his whole life. But nowadays, in contrast, there are so many organizations teaching people to do meditation and yoga. What is that? The people are sitting in cities, eating, doing all kind of nonsense, quality of life, and then they say, "Oh, I do meditation." So that is bit difficult to reconcile because if the dhyana yoga meditation was so easy to do, then why did Arjun reject it? I'm not asking our Arjun here. Arjun Seti on the call. Arjun, did you try ever doing meditation?
Yeah, I've tried, and yeah, I can relate to that. It's very hard to control the mind. It keeps thoughts keep wandering. It's very hard. Yeah.
It's very hard, right? Yeah. But then why do people still, there are, I mean, I can say millions of people, uh, they as subscribe to such things, or people promoting um, such ideas or selling it, I would say, not promoting, but they're selling it uh, so much, and people go there to practice. That is a kind of bewildering, right? So what everyone here thinks could be the reason why does people go to such things even if it is very difficult. Can you unmute? I'm sure all of you have done meditation, yoga, or paid some money or attend some classes, courses. So what is your experience? Why do people go? Why did you go? Yes.
Concentration is difficult, no?
No, no, I'm
Because the mind
asking
is not steady.
why do people go to such programs if it is so difficult?
for meditation, to concentrate our mind and meditation. But it is very difficult, very difficult.
Okay, so to meditate. But for meditation, we don't have to pay anyone. You can just sit down in your house and meditate, right?
Paying is not the question. The question is concentration of mind. Because it is a Kali Yuga, no? So in Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to
No,
concentrate. And
but you see that
as
there
we
are
are, ignorance is also there. Ignorance is
there are
also
so there are so many people go for such things.
there.
Like they literally pay for a session. Like every hour they're paying. There is some miscommunication or misinformation for sure. So the two things can happen. Either they are not informed of right thing, They have presented meditation in very simplified way, and they are trained to do something simple, but then they realize, oh, this is hard. It's like, you so until I read Bhagavad Gita, I didn't knew this is called meditation. I thought just controlling my breathe and that trying to just sit down somewhere for a few minutes is called meditation. There was some recommendation on sitting place, need to be proper even place and early morning hour and sit down and control your breathe. Breathe control will help you control your mind some extent. But then most of these people, they don't talk about where to meditate on. There is no consensus. Somebody says meditate on, they will have a circle on the wall and they'll say, okay, meditate on that. Somebody will say, no, 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 meditate on a candle. Oh no, flicker, candle, very static. Somebody said, no, 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 you close your eyes and you can meditate on in between your eyebrows and just, some white light will appear when you realize there's so many object of meditation, right? Isn't it? Every yoga organization or yoga program will have different object of meditation. Correct? Or somebody will say, okay, no, meditate on your breathe or heartbeat. Right? Correct? And then nobody will talk about detach your mind from the world or give up the sense gratification. Like don't eat meat, don't drink alcohol, don't do illicit sex, don't look at others other than your wife as a object of your sense enjoyment, and then don't do gambling. These four things, like the core of sense gratification, will be not asked to give up. They'll say, actually, you do it. You concentrate and make your mind stronger to do it more strongly so that you can be happy. Ultimately, everybody is going for to get happiness from meditation, right? No, I can control my mind so that I can do my job nicely. I can be happy. I can get more money. I can manage multiple things at a time because my mind is strong. Isn't it? All of these regions to go for meditation sessions, right? And pay money. But the real goal is not taught. Like, okay, you get all that, but then what? And what are you going to do? You come back to again same thing because the happiness get lost. Like, it comes. Of course, there is some happiness in meditation, but then if the goal is not clear, if the process is not defined properly as per the recommendation by Krishna, then the outcome is very flickering. And then you come back, oh no, let me try again, let me try this way, that way, and it's all doomed. Correct? So let's see what Arjuna's gonna say more about this. He's gonna do one more sloka. Next one, 34. Who wants to read the 34?
Can I use it?
Yes, Mother.
Okay. चञ्चलं हि मनः कृष्ण परमार्थि बलवृद्धं तस्याहं निग्रहं मन्ये वायुरिव सुदुष्करम्. For the mind is restless, rebellion, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the mind. The mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence, although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence. For a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards both friend and the enemy. But immediately, no worldly man can do So, for this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. In the Vedic literature, Upanishada, Katha Upanishada 1.3.34, it is said, Atmanam Ratishtanam Vidhi Sri Rama Ratham Eva Cha Buddhim tu Sarthim Vidhi Manaha Prograham Eva Cha Indriyani Hayam Ahura Vaisyam Tesu Gokarin आत्मेन्द्रिया मनोयुक्तम भोक्तये और मनीषिणः सिन्हा. The individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and intelligence is the driver, mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer and or sufferer in the association of mind and senses. So it is understood by a great thinker. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that often overcomes over one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for the worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of the modern man? The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by the Lord Krishna, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humanity. Method prescribed as is Sa Vai Manaha Krishna Padar Vinadyo. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagements in the to agitate the mind. Should I read more?
Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you, Manoj. So this is sloka. Arjuna is again saying, Chanchala hi mana Krishna pramathi badavadradham tasmyaham nigraham manye vayoriu duskaram. So you know the Arjuna was so powerful that he can control the wind. Nowadays, controlling the wind is not possible for us, right? We cannot control even our window. He was able to control the wind, but then he's saying I cannot control the mind. It is so powerful. He's saying it's Balavadradha, it's very powerful. And mind is so powerful that actually the mind is supposed to work under intelligence. Because simply we read the from Kathakun Upanishad, we just Mataji read the example given that the individual, us, the spirit soul, are passenger in the body. Suppose if you consider this body as a machine or car or chariot. So this body is a chariot, and we are soul as a passenger. Now this body has wheels, horses. The chariot has horses, which is our senses, five senses, five horses. And these horses are connected to, controlled by the mind, which is that thread which controls all the horses, rope. That is the mind. It's like a hub. And that hub, mind is supposed to be controlled by the intelligence, who is the chariot driver, supposed to drive the chariot, right? But the mind is so powerful that sometimes it overcomes the intelligence. That the intelligence becomes like helpless, and then it automatically starts driving the chariot. The mind is so powerful. So to control the mind is very hard. Now it will come. Krishna is going to describe that actually we cannot control mind much. We can engage mind in better things because mind need engagement. It's like a baby. How long you will control your baby, right? Like it runs. It will listen 1 second, 10 second, 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, but then it will do the same thing again. But if you give a better engagement, if you so those of us we have kids, we know if you don't give good engagement to kids, they'll do something. So it's better to give them engagement. Same way like the mind. We need to give a better engagement for the mind so that it achieves the goal it is supposed to do the things, right? For a chariot, like for example, a chariot has a destination. Now you are driving on a chariot, you have if you have a goal where to go, and if your charioteer knows it, the path, then it will drive the chariot on that path. But if the charioteer doesn't know, chariot driver, how where to drive, then it will just take you here, there, here, and do some accident and crash, and again get up, start again. Same thing is happening in our life because we don't have a clarity of mind. The mind is disturbed because of opposing elements, because so many things disturb our mind in the world, and then intelligence becomes weak and the mind becomes very strong, and then we don't know what to do in situations in life. But if we can, the only way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described in this Kali Yuga is chanting Hare Krishna mantra. This chanting is the sound vibration, and gradually it helps us to engage the mind in the right direction. I won't say control, but engage. Because control is negative thing. Control, how long you will control? Like the yogis, the meditators, they control their mind for thousands of years. Earlier, now maybe few years. But the moment you get out of the control, it will do the same thing. So you lost the whole purpose of controlling so many years, but it's get back to the same thing. But if you get a better taste, higher engagement, then the mind is easy to manage, right? So let's see what Krishna is going to say in next sloka. 35. Krishna is gonna say now. Whether Krishna agrees to what Arjuna said or doesn't agree, let's see, right? Because Arjuna said two things. First, I don't think I can do this dhyana yoga. Second, this mind is very flickering and very strong, so I cannot control. So what does Krishna say now? Who wants to read this 35?
Hi, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, can read. Hare Krishna.
संशयं महाबाहो मनोधुर्निग्रहं चलन् अवस्येनातु कौन्तेय वैराग्येन च ग्राह्यते. Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Perfect. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is the practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional services to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes entitled and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Paresanubhuti. Pareshanubhuti, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. The treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Want me to continue?
Hare Krishna. No, thank you. These are very important. So now you see, the Krishna agrees to it. Krishna is not saying, no, no, you're talking, no, you're weak. No. He's saying, yes, mind is very difficult to control. But there is a solution. You can do it. How? By practice and by detachment. So what does detachment do? Detachment actually detach mind from the external engagement or non-Krishna conscious engagement. And Krishna is going to describe that. And practice. So now question come, what to practice, how to practice, so many questions, right? But for now, at least you know that practice and detachment can help you to control the mind, right? That's what Krishna is saying. So, and here example given that this vairagya, the detachment, how can we do, right? For example, to become detached, you have to attach to something. Like for example, if you want to give up meat eating, then you have to eat some nice vegetarian food or prasadam, right? Because we have to supposed to eat. This body cannot be maintained without eating. There is a bodily necessities: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We need to sleep, we need to eat, we need to have entertainment, and we need to have defense. This is the need of the body. So nobody can say, okay, you stop all this, then you'll die. But you can give better engagement, right? You can eat nice, tasteful food, then give eating meat. You can drink nice beverage, then or drinking wine. You can have all different kind of engagement. Whether whatever you do in your life in more higher level, then you give up the lower level of engagement. That's the only solution, right? There is no other solution. We cannot say, oh, stop using phone, stop looking at everything, stop. How long, right? How long you'll stop? You can't become a dead, like a living dead, right? Like you're just a stone. We are not a stone. So Krishna is very practical. He's saying practice in a now it will come in upcoming chapter. What is that practice, right? So and then you can do detachment. How you develop detachment? When you practice right thing, just like now you'll say, okay, how do I know I'm developing detachment? You will feel it, like when you're hungry, you eat food, you feel that your hunger is going reducing and you feel satisfaction. Same way, when you do spiritual practice, you experience that detachment slowly, gradually, right? So Srila Prabhupada is giving two examples: eating the food when you're hungry, same way, and um, another one he says here, uh, hearing. Hearing is most powerful. Like all of you here right now, hearing from Krishna about spiritual messages. This hearing is very powerful. This will purify our mind to focus on certain things, in this case, is spirituality, and also develop detachment from the world so that we can attach ourselves to the spiritual path. Because without detaching, we cannot attach. You cannot do two jobs or five jobs. You can do two jobs at a time. There are people do three jobs at a time. But how long, right? At some point you have to attach to one job and you give up all other things, right? So to become attached, you have to detach. And to become detached, you have to attach, right? But you need to know from we need to know from where we should detach and from to where we should attach. Until we don't know that, it is very difficult because we always constantly attaching, detaching to something in our life. And you're trying different ways of attaching, detaching, and trying to get some happiness here, there, but it's not lasting. We try new attachment, new detachment. I'll give up this, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna give up this. We've been doing every year, New Year resolution, or let's try new restaurant, let's try new clothing, let's try new music, let's try new hobby. But we don't know, first of all. We need to have a knowledge. What is I should give up and what should I take up, right? So let's read next one, 36. Uh, I'm gonna share the screen. Who wants to read 36? Arjun remaining, I think, and service. Prabhu, then come.
Sure, I can read.
Yes, thank you.
Asamyatat mana yogo dusprapa iti me mati vasyat mana tu yatata sakyavaptam upayata. Translation: for those whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor, but a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious.
You can read next one also.
This one, 37.
Yes.
Arjuna Vacha Ayati Shraddhayopeto Yogja Chalita Manasa Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gachati. Translation: Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Purport: the path of self-realization or mysticism is described in the Bhagavad Gita. The basic principle of self-realization is the knowledge that the living entity is not this material body, but that he is different from it, and that his happiness is in eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. These are transcendental, both beyond both body and mind. Self-realization is sought by the path of knowledge, by the practice of the Eightfold System, or by Bhakti Yoga. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can re-establish the lost link, and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. This was asserted by the Lord in the second chapter. Even little endeavor on the transcendental path offers a great hope for deliverance. Out of these three methods, the path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this age because it is the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and the practice of the Eightfold Yoga system are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not be sufficiently serious about following the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusory energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material energy, and there's every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. This is called Yoga Chalita Manasa, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self-realization.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you. Yeah, so this is a very practical question again coming up, right? So in the previous sloka, Krishna is saying that yes, if you want to practice self-realization, then you have to control the mind, because without controlling the mind, there is no success. So now Arjuna asking, okay, if I start doing this, what you're saying, control the mind, what if I fail? Because there is a high chance of failure because the mind is very powerful, right? Mind is very powerful. So there is a high chance of failure. Now one should know that what if I fail, right? So that's very practical question. That what if I take up this process, if I fail, what will happen, right? Because the path is difficult. So there are three paths here described. The first is to acquire knowledge, the jnanis, jnani yogis, The people want to acquire knowledge. There are a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge. But then, as you get aged or old, your knowledge deteriorates. You get Parkinson, Alzheimer's, so many diseases. So the knowledge get lost. Now, second path is yoga, mystic yoga, like meditation, Ashtanga yoga. People practice Ashtanga yoga, yam, niyam, dhyan, dharana, pratyahar. So many we had discussed in the beginning of this chapter. Krishna described that to Arjun. So that Ashtanga yoga, mystic yoga, you may practice for a few decades nowadays, but then the body gets old, right? Again, same problem. With the finish of the body, it may help you, but because of the
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी.
Can you hear me now?
Yes प्रभु जी.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Sorry, I think the internet was low. So I was saying the second path is mystic yoga, which is very difficult. We cannot do Ashtanga yoga. We cannot meditate. The third path, which is easy for us, is bhakti yoga. Engaging all our senses, all our activities in the bhakti, the nine process of bhakti. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padma Sevanam, Archanam, Dashyam, Shakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. The Navadha Bhakti, nine process of devotional service. we can easily do at any place, any circumstance, at any age. So these three paths, now let's see what Krishna is gonna say about this question. What happens if they fail? Okay. There is another question we'll cover, and then we'll do chanting one round. Okay. So there another question Krishna is Arjun is asking in 38. Who wants to read this one?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
Yes, Sarvesh Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
कश्चिन्नुभ्यो विभ्रष्ट छिन्न विभ्रामिव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणः पथि Translation: O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a raven cloud with no position anywhere? Purport: there are two ways to progress. Those who are materialists have no interest in transcendence. Therefore, they are more interested in material advancement by economic development or in promotion to the higher planets by appropriate work. When one takes to the path of transcendence, one has to cease all material activities and sacrifice all forms of so-called material happiness. If the aspiring transcendentalist fails, then he apparently loses both ways. In other words, he can enjoy neither material happiness nor spiritual success. He has no position, he is like a raven cloud. A cloud in the sky sometimes deviates from a small cloud and joins a big one. But if it cannot join a big one, then it is blown away by the wind and becomes a non-entity in the vast sky. The Brahmana path is the path of transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be spiritual in essence, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, who is manifested as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Lord Sri Krishna is the fullest manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and therefore one who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. To teach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramatma realization takes many births. Bahunam Janmanamante. Therefore, the supreme path of transcendental realization is Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness, the direct method. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Can you read this one also, Prabhu, quickly? 39. Sarvesh Prabhu, can you read this one?
Hare Krishna, yes Prabhuji, yes. 39. एतन्मे संस्य कृष्ण चेतुम् अर्हत्यशेषता त्वदन्य संशस्य चेता न हि उपपद्यते. Translation: This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Purport: Krishna is the perfect knower of past, present, and future. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord said that all living entities existed individually in the past, they exist now in the present, and they continue to retain individual identity in the future, even after liberation from the material entanglement. So he has already cleared up the question of the future of the individual living entity. Now Arjuna wants to know of the future of unsuccessful transcendentalist. No one is equal to or above Krishna, and certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of material nature cannot equate him. Therefore, the verdict of Krishna is the final and complete answer to all doubts, because he knows past, present, and future perfectly. But no one knows him. Krishna and Krishna conscious devotees alone can know what is what.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So it's very important that, whatever we do in life, we should know what we are doing. Because here, Arjun is asking very pertinent question for all of us related. Why? Because suppose if you are doing something, you should know what will happen if I fail. Because if you fail and if you don't know what will happen, you are doomed. Like you are neither suppose if you are taking a spiritual path, then you should know why you are doing this. Because if you don't know, then you are neither you could enjoy your material life nor you become successful in spirituality. So you know where it's like a cloud. Neither the cloud can join the bigger cloud or neither it remains a individual cloud, right? So we should be very, very clear about and firmly convinced of these messages, right? Because only we are convinced, we will not able to derive the benefit. Suppose even in medical world, if you take a medicine, you should be convinced that this medicine will work. Then only work. Otherwise, it's a placebo effect. There are placebo effect trials where people gave just water and said it's medicine and it has worked. So our mind is very powerful. You can search placebo effect trials. You'll find the studies. So we should be firmly convinced and have knowledge of what we do in life, and especially the spiritual path, right? So Krishna is gonna dispel this. Arjuna asked two questions that what will happen if somebody is unsuccessful in this path of self-realization or yoga, and Krishna is going to clear up in next six slokas. Okay, so this is 40 we read today, and then from 40 to 47, no, 41 to 47, Krishna is going to clarify the questions asked by Arjun and then conclude this chapter. The 47 is the last sloka of this chapter 6. Okay, anybody has any questions for today? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
In Shloka 5.37, you said there were four things: acquire knowledge, yoga, meditation, bhakti yoga, and the other one, fourth one,
No, there are three things only, Mataji.
three things. Okay.
Yeah, three things. And knowledge, yoga, and bhakti yoga. So the Jnana Yoga, which is acquiring knowledge. Ashtanga Yoga is mysticism, yogic exercise. And the third one is Bhakti Yoga, which is devotion service to Krishna. Okay. Anybody else wants to say something? Say something.